Hi everyone, this is Jim Tolles. Today I'm going to talk to you about the super exciting topic of spiritual discipline. I'm sure tons of people are just foaming at the mouth for me to talk about discipline some more. Before I get into this topic, there are links and other resources down below. Please check them out after this video. So yeah, discipline, it's important. If we're not disciplined, we're just going to stay in our patterns. And that's why dedication to the spiritual path matters and all that. And I keep bringing it up and bringing it up in other videos. And so I'm going to do this video just about spiritual discipline to keep emphasizing this very simple thing that humans stay in patterns. If we've been thinking and practicing self-worth issues our whole lives, what do you think is going to happen after an awakening, after any little spiritual shift, or just a few meditations here and there? You're going to keep thinking in that same old pathways of, oh, I'm bad, I suck, or whatever the self-worth is. Or the narcissist always thinks they're great and has never developed empathy or humility. I mean, we're going to stay in those spaces because that's what we practice. And people forget how much they practice being an ego every day. Every day we get up in the morning and we remember all of this crap. And it's all unconscious, of course, and so that's another reason why discipline is so important, is most of the stuff that's going on inside us is below what I call the waterline. So if the ego is an iceberg, right, that little tip of the iceberg, that's the part that we think of as us and we think we have control over. And the amount of control we have over that little tip of the iceberg tends to be very minimal, much smaller than we want to admit until you learn how to do inner work and how to self-reflect in all these ways. But the rest of it's down below the waterline, and it's going to stay there. It's going to stay there because, one, we don't know that it's there. Two, we don't really want to go into it. It's a lot of work. That's number three, I guess, is that it's a lot of work. It's like, I don't want to deal with all the stuff down there. That looks like a pain in the butt. Let's go play more video games. Developing the discipline is so important. And with the discipline will come challenge. And with challenge will come the opportunity to develop greater resilience. Resilience and tenacity, these are really important things that happen through discipline, through appropriately being challenged. Appropriate challenge is an important term in all of this. The reason being is every now and then somebody comes to me and they're telling me all this ridiculous stuff that they're making themselves do to make themselves feel afraid and to challenge it. That really doesn't work very well because that's not usually the thing that the person needs to work on. Actually, in that case, the thing the person needs to work on is this idea that they need to challenge themselves. What are they trying to achieve? What do they think the outcome will be, and why do they choose the things that they do as a means of challenging themselves? All right, is this a self-worth issue in disguise? All right, a lot of self-worth issues, they manifest through success. That the high achiever, by social standards, actually doesn't like themselves at all, and they have to do these things to try and prove to themselves that they are essentially worthy of love. It's endless, though, because you can never achieve enough stuff. The self-worth issue is a bottomless pit. And this work, the discipline, is going into the pit and finding the bottom. It isn't ultimately a bottomless pit, but that's the way the ego threatens us. The ego's like, yeah, you don't want to go down there. That's scary. Maybe we should go do some cocaine. And that's what happens. And people are addicted on that because cocaine's a lot easier than going down into the bottomless pit. I'm not advocating anyone to do substances. I'm just saying this is the thing that's happening in society so often is we keep looking to the external world to fill up these internal spaces that are unhappy. The discipline is this turning inward to say, no, I know where the unhappiness comes from. It comes from in here. I'm going to go down into that pit and I'm going to find every piranha and snake and rattlesnakes and cobras and just every nasty thing that you can think of down there. Black widow, spiders, whatever you don't like, it's down there. And I'm going to go make friends with them. I'm going to go surrender to them. Surrendering when we feel bad and we want the emotions or sensations to go away is powerful. And that's why we need discipline, because when those difficult emotions are going to come up, because that's life anyway. We're going to have difficult emotions anyway. If you don't do this work and if you're not disciplined, you're still going to have difficult emotions. See, that's the insanity of not doing spiritual inner work, is that we're still going to have to deal with all this stuff anyway. But it's going to be endless. It's going to be an endless cycle of suffering. You just keep going round and round in the same loops, because the ego is a set of patterns and thoughts. It will keep responding in the same way to the same types of stimuli. If a stimuli it likes, you get more of the dopamine and happy feelings. If it's something you don't like, it gives you something else that makes you want to get away from the situation or fight it. It's not a mystery. And it's not even a mystery how to get out of it. It's, do we have the will and the willingness to create discipline within our spiritual practices to go within, to confront this stuff? And you don't have to go alone. There's a lot of help out there for a lot of different levels. Whatever the level of discipline is, whatever the initial ego things you're working on, whether it's learning how to get a divorce, because sometimes people realize they're not in a good relationship and they need to leave. There are people who can help you with that. And that's a discipline to go through that process and to figure things out and figure out the steps. The discipline of starting a new business, if you feel really called to do something like that, and figuring things out there. And I'm mentioning very worldly things right now because sometimes, not always, but sometimes things that are really meaningful to us do further our inner growth. But this is tricky because a lot of times we just preference what our ego is already used to preferencing. So a lot of times I find with my students initially, there are a lot of external world stuff that's useful for them as kind of practice for the inner discipline. But as they do those things, then you cross to another level where those things become absolutely irrelevant. And this is my rungs on the ladder metaphor, that you're on rung 1 when you're on rung 1, and that's important. When you're on rung 2, you're not on rung 1 again. It wouldn't make sense. So as we go, certain things become important, other things drop away. But throughout that, a lot of the ladder is built of discipline. It's important. You don't have to do things alone. I certainly offer one-on-one sessions for those who are interested, and I have some information about that down below. And there are other spiritual helpers and teachers and plenty of people who are willing to support you in understanding yourself and developing this discipline. I encourage you to embrace them. So I hope this super exciting video about discipline was useful to you. And once again, I'm Jim Tolles, and you can find more of my work on my YouTube channel or at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. Have a beautiful day.